At my brother's wedding, my father looked at me angrily in front of everyone and said, "You're a disgrace to the family, get out." I stood there in my $40 thrift store suit while Paul's groomsmen smirked in their designer tuxedos. My brother walked over, drink in hand, and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "How much you making now, James? Still cleaning toilets for minimum wage?" The guests laughed. My mother looked away. My father's jaw tightened with that familiar disappointment. "You're embarrassing this family," Dad said coldly. "This is Paul's day. Have the decency to leave." Paul added, "Come on, let him stay for the free food. He probably can't afford a meal like this." What they didn't know was the full story. 20 years ago, I was 17 when I failed the entrance exam Dad had been preparing me for since I was 12. The silence that followed was deafening. Dad stopped looking at me during dinner, stopped asking about my day. It was like I died but was still sitting at the table. 3 months later, I left home at 3 a.m. with just a duffel bag, left a note for Mom, "I'll make my own way." I took a job as a night janitor at the Grand Riverside Hotel, the only place hiring that offered room and board. I lived in a converted storage room in the basement, showering in staff lockers, eating leftover banquet food. The manager, Brian, was tough but fair. Unlike Dad, when Brian criticized me, it was to help me improve. When he praised me, I felt like I actually mattered. Then came Thanksgiving. The hotel was completely booked. 3 weddings, 2 corporate events. Already short-staffed, our sous chef called in sick. Then a pipe burst in the main kitchen during dinner service. Water everywhere. Brian was panicking. No plumber available, kitchen flooding, 200 guests waiting for meals. "Brian, let me try," I said. "I can fix it." He looked skeptical but had no choice. 30 minutes later, the pipe was patched and kitchen operational. When Brian tested the faucet, the entire staff applauded. "You just saved this hotel," Brian said. "I'm promoting you to maintenance supervisor." Brian mentored me like the father I never had. I took night classes, studied hospitality management, worked every position. Maintenance supervisor to assistant manager to operations director. 10 years in, Brian pulled me aside. "I'm retiring. Would you buy this place? I can't sell to some corporate chain." It took 5 more years to secure financing, but last year I did it. I bought the Grand Riverside Hotel, the same place where I'd mopped floors. So standing at Paul's wedding, listening to Dad call me a disgrace, I felt something unexpected. "Peace. You're right. I'll leave," I said, turning to go. That's when Sarah, the wedding coordinator, rushed over. "Excuse me, sir? We have a problem. An unexpected guest arrived and we're out of seats." I held up my hand. "I'll handle it." I turned back to Dad and Paul. The room had gone silent. That entrance exam I failed, it led me here, to this hotel, the one you chose for Paul's wedding. I started as a janitor 20 years ago, lived in the basement. Last year I bought it. I own the Grand Riverside Hotel. My father's face went white. So when Sarah came over, she was asking me, the owner, for approval. I looked at Sarah. "Cancel their reservation. Everything. Ceremony. Reception. All of it." "You can't," Paul started. "I absolutely can. Security will escort you out. The invoice for breach of contract arrives Monday." Paul grabbed my arm. "This is my wedding day, and you humiliated me in my own hotel. Congratulations. You finally achieved something without Dad's help. You got yourself kicked out." My mother ran over, tears streaming. "James, when were you going to tell us?" "I tried, Mom. I called 5 years ago when I became operations director." Dad hung up. "I sent a letter when I bought the hotel. You never responded." She looked at Dad, who couldn't meet anyone's eyes. Security arrived. As they escorted my father and Paul toward the exit, I caught Paul's eye. For the first time ever, he looked how I used to feel. Small, powerless, inadequate. I turned to Paul's fiancée, who looked devastated. "There's a boutique hotel 2 blocks down. I'll call the owner. He's a friend. He'll take care of you, no charge. This isn't your fault." She nodded, crying, and whispered, "Thank you." As I watched my father walk out, shoulders slumped, I realized something. I'd spent 20 years terrified of seeing him again, but standing in the hotel I built from nothing, I finally understood. His approval was never what I needed. I already had everything that mattered.